Computer. There we are. Thank you.
Okay.
Let me move this out of the way.
So
Okay.
I'll jump back a few steps since this is being recorded.
Okay.
So you get the whole thing.
Make sure it is
So we're
recording.
starting off by looking in this collection's index/description directory for a file called desk.all. That contains all the metadata that has been loaded into the collection,
Right.
as well as references to the files. So if you're talking about compound objects, well, first off,
We opened that already, yeah.
We'll open up this desk.all file. Within it, the last field is typically this DM record field.
Okay.
In this case, that includes the value 20, which means that if we go to ContentDM and plug in the number for that, then it should bring up this metadata specifically. But
okay.
So with regard to the file that is associated with this, so the title for this item is.
Well, you looked at 200 and you looked at 203 here. So can we go down and do a search for 203? Oh, okay.
So the title for this is Appalachian Industrial School for Mountain Boys and Girls, page 6.
Okay.
The actual file corresponding to that, if we go back down to that find tag, is 21.jpg.
Okay.
So if we look in this collection's image directory, so we jump back up to and go into image, we're going to find that 21.jpg file.
Okay.
Double click on that. We should see the exact file that we're
talking about. Yep.
So that corresponds to all of this metadata. Now that is obviously some sort of page of a compound object. Compound objects in the ContentDM desk.all are all sort of tied together using what we call a CPD file.
Right.
Let me find, well, one example of a CPD file is this 203 file. It's also in the image directory. If we look for, this is the desk.all file here. Let's find 203.cpd. So now we look at the metadata for that particular item. Let's look within this file. So this is actually the compound object sort of main item as a whole, which references all the other pages and so forth. Within this CPD file, which we can find over in this image directory. So craftrev image.
Right.
We are going, this actually is XML, unlike the desk.all, which is kind of sort of XML-ish.
Okay.
This references each of the individual page images or PDFs or whatever that are associated with that compound object.
So they should be the children.
Exactly.
Okay.
So when ContentDM loads up the record for number 202, which is the unique number for this particular record, it's going to jump into that image directory, pull up this CPD file and say, oh, this is a compound object. So I need to load up the images for 114.jpg, 115.jpg, 116.jpg, and 117.jpg, because those are all associated as a single compound object.
But here's where the question is. If I were to look at this one on the website itself, so let me go and look at I don't have a direct link, I'm sorry. And this is Cherokee. That data was, hang on a second, that's it. We looked at Craft Revival. So here's Craft Revival and do a browse. So we're going directly in the compound. It is already linked. It's already collected there.
Yep.
So if we were to look at an image, and I'm just picking one so I can edit it and just do, just do this. A second. What was the number?
Uh,
Two. Where did that go? Where we staff chat? Did we close it?
it shouldn't be here. Let me grab it in
Oh, it's down here.
the
That's what it is.
notepad.
203, which I assume is it
Actually,
203?
203 is the name of the file. The actual unique identifier for that record is almost certainly going to be different. So
Is it 203?
no, that's the file name. So if you jump
Okay.
down to the DM record field after that file name, you're going to see it is 202.
Ah,
And that's the
I
unique
see.
number for this file.
I'm copying that. I'm going back over here and putting in 202. And yes, there's 4 pages.
Mm-hmm.
That's the record number.
For the compound object, yes.
Okay. And those are the 4 things we saw.
Correct.
Now, the problem I had is I ran into one that didn't work right. And let me show you that one. Trying to figure out where it is. It's in a Word document. The Word document I was working on, which is this one here. When I looked at 13, this one here.
Now remember that 1359, that's part of the file name. That is not going to be the same as the unique identifier for that particular record.
Okay.
The DM record number is always going to be different from the number that is part of the file name.
So if I did a search in the...
So if you go back to that desk.all file,
this one,
and search for that file name, Control F.
no, not looking. Am I looking for that one? No, I'm not looking. Well,
yeah, go ahead and
that
find
should
that.
be the CPD. Okay, there it is.
Well, 1359.cpd, you scroll down a couple lines, you'll see that the DM record is 1218.
Ah, that's weird. Okay.
So that tells me typically when you first start adding records to a collection, there's going to be one difference. You know, the first record number is going to be 0, the first file number is going to be 1. I don't know why they did that, but it will start getting off more and more once you start deleting images and adding images to existing records and so forth. That counter keeps, the file number counter keeps incrementing faster than the record number.
But
so you shouldn't assume, never assume that the record number is going to be the same as the file name number.
So this CPD is, so that's where I'm confused about this stuff.
Yeah.
So it's different. It was 12 something, but so this CPD is not the correct one. Well, that's where I'm still confused. I'm sorry.
Here, let me find that real quick.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
So if we look at the desk.all, 1359 is the CPD file.
Uh-huh.
And that's referenced here in this desk.all.
Uh-huh.
ContentDM is going to find that CPD file when you click on a file, or when you click on a ContentDM item that has this unique identifier, the 1218.
Okay.
Never assume that this number over here, the file name number, has anything whatsoever to do with the number within ContentDM.
The record number, because they mess it up. Yeah, okay.
They are completely different.
Okay.
You make that assumption, you're going to break things. And you're not the first one at all to make that assumption, trust me.
Okay.
When I was at OCLC, I had people calling in telling me the software was broken because the numbers weren't right. I said, no, that's the way it works. But anyway, so this
CPD file is, okay.
You go to ContentDM, you click on this record number. ContentDM is going to load up this file, this XML file, basically. And it's going to read this and say, okay, this page title is the human displayable part of the, this is what's displayed to the person reading, the end user, basically. This page file, that is the image that is associated with that page.
Yeah.
This page pointer is the unique identifier, the DM record value.
And that's why it's so different there than the other one.
Yeah, there's a big difference between these two here and here, and that is also being duplicated over here in these.
Okay.
Am I helping or?
Yes,
confusing?
I think so. But so when we I guess part of the confusion is that, let me pull, this is Craft Revival. Let me pull up the metadata that I just loaded, that I just downloaded just a minute ago. From this collection. December. Oh, it's not doing
You do
it.
the same thing I do. You create folders with by the date number or by the date, so you know exactly where to find what you've been working on right now.
Yeah. So the Craft Revival, here's the data. I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna look at it briefly so we can kind of see. So this is what, unless they're doing XML, if you'll notice, if you do a search, let me do a search, find that 1359, there it is.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a record, this record I'm trying to see what the title of it is. Text. Let me copy it out. Because I'm trying to get that first, this piece. There's the title. Okay. Copy. There. So for this one, which is in there as a CPD file right there, I can see that's the URL it's looking at. I know it's a compound image because it has CPD.
Okay.
But okay, and the number has the content number. There's that. Okay, that's the number that we need to look at, that everything is coming from.
Yes.
But these numbers don't match, and that's where
you're not expected to.
Not expected to. Okay. Well, that makes more sense now, because that one is really different than that one, and that's where the confusion is. So this is the important.
Yeah,
this says that this is the parent. I know this is a parent record because it has a CPD. Is that correct?
Correct.
And I can pull that CPD to find the ones that are linked to it. And that works just well. It's this piece that I was missing when I was looking at ContentDM here and looking to make sure that that number did right. So I think I'm cool on this. This makes a lot more sense to me.
Actually, let me show you one other thing real quick. Jump into
Sure.
ContentDM admin.
Okay.
I haven't worked too much with the user interface for ContentDM now, because at this point I'm only doing OEI harvesting really from ContentDM.
Yeah.
And I stopped working with it before they moved over to this responsive design interface. So
yeah, that's one. Then instead of putting their money and time in the back end, they put it in the front end, which I think was a wrong move, because that's part of what is making us move, to be honest. So, but for us, that wasn't a good deal. But anyway, so here you go.
So this interface, it shows you something. Let me show you something with this that might help also put the CPD in
okay.
a bit of context, if you will. So I'm going to do an edit. I won't change anything, obviously, but I'm going to browse.
We've been doing that for the Yeah, the metadata link. Yeah,
So we've got a
structure.
structure. So
Yeah.
obviously this is a compound object. This is actually on this screen, you are editing the CPD file. So when you edit this, for example,
Uh-huh.
let me bring up the CPD. So if I
looked up this
edit
11,
this, yes,
whatever.
it's going to basically, no, it's a different record, obviously, but
yeah.
Page 1, edit, you would be editing that page title.
But the question I have for them is to do this with the machine rather than 30,000 records. Is there a way to download this?
Well, this is just
that is that in
yeah,
a
this is
different
just coming from the
okay.
CPD. This is
I
just
see.
how you edit using the user interface. I wanted to throw this out there
I see.
to hopefully give you a little more context as to how the CPD is accessed within ContentDM.
Yeah.
So that you know when you go in to edit a compound object like this, on the back end, what's going on is the CPD is being edited.
Right.
Now, one other thing I will mention to you, this your folks may or may not need to know anything about. And I alluded to this in that document I wrote up. Let's see, where
I thought I had it. Yeah, there it is.
Okay.
Oh, wait.
So this is, now I'm going to get to, okay. So we're in the image directory right now. This is where all the actual images or CPD files are stored. So for every item that's in ContentDM that's part of a compound object, when there's going to be something in this sup directory.
Ah.
So if an item is a page of a compound object, well, first off, jump back up. The sup directory, all the subdirectories in here are named after the DM record values.
Okay.
Also known as this page pointer. You know, it's the same exact thing. I don't know why they named it something different here in this context, but these are the unique identifiers for each record.
Okay.
If it is a page of a compound object, let's drill down into here. This is an XML file. If we open this up, use Notepad, you'll see it says parent 197.
Yay, yes.
So this is basically another way to reverse engineer the structure of a compound object.
So our, what was it, 11, what was it? 11, which one were we looking at? Darn it. No, not that one. Sorry, I have too many windows open. When we were looking at the, this one, I guess, no. This one we're looking at in the description here. Yeah, so this one is 1118.
So for that,
so if we go here, you're saying, and go down to 1115 or 1215, was it 1215?
Was it 1118 or 1115? I think it was 1118.
Sorry, I don't mean to. I'm easily distracted apparently.
1218.
1218. Yes, 1218.
Okay, drill down into there.
It's empty.
And here, we don't see anything. The reason for this is because this is the compound object as a whole. It does not have a parent. So this is going to be empty. Now the caveat, this is empty now in this case because it's a compound object and it is not a PDF compound object. If you had a PDF compound object, then that would actually be in that subdirectory in the subdirectory. So the sup / whatever the DM record number is for a PDF compound object, that will actually contain the PDF itself.
Okay, so wait. So we need to find one with a PDF here? Would that do that?
It would need to be a PDF compound object. Yeah, so there isn't one in this direct or in this collection, it looks like.
Okay. Oh crap.
You have PDF compound objects?
We have, I do think we do, but I think they are back to here. I think they're in one of those other. Let me think a minute here. Might have it here. Can we just do a search here?
Go into the desk.all file for this collection.
Okay, let's see here.
Index
That's an
description.
index description, and this one right here. Open with Notepad, and then do a search, right?
Do a find for PDF page, all one word.
Like that?
Yes, that will be an indicator that there's a PDF.
Yeah. I think we imaged each page rather than doing a regular PDF. I think we
Okay,
have
so-
some, but I don't know where they are. So, well, wait, let me check our new system. Haha. I don't know if you had a chance to even care. That's
What are you running on this system?
this is called QI from Think Differently, and we've been contracting with them to move our data and create a nice new website, and it's gonna look. Oh wait, I think I still have it up. Is it this one? No, it's no, it's not that one. And I'm doing something different. It is. Did I close it? That's very sad if I closed it, because we finally got an image. And I'm not seeing it. Darn it! I must have closed it by accident. Well, wait. Ah, here we are. This is what it's going to look like when we pull up a record. We just got this today. So,
Okay.
and then with the images. So they're a museum. They've done mostly museum things. So we're liking this. I don't think anything's clickable. It's just a view. We needed to see, after doing all the data, seeing what it would look like on the front end. But streamlined, it's just an image. Unfortunately, you can't see it. But yeah, so that's what we're up to. But I digressed, and now I'm not sure what I was doing. So, so I don't know how many ones, where the PDFs are. I was trying to see.
Hold on a moment. If you give me a moment, now that I think about it, I can tell you which collection.
Of the ones I gave you?
Yeah.
You Linux folks can really do some searching that I haven't had brain cells to do.
Actually, I am not finding any in your collections that I have.
Wow. Okay.
So
Maybe we don't
maybe-
have any.
Yeah. But at any rate, to get back to the original point, in the subdirectory.
Yes, that's where we were.
So let me take over again real quick.
Sure. Can you get there?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Hold on a second. So in the subdirectory, there's going to be these individual directories which are named after the
Record number.
DM record number. If it is a compound object page, it's going to have this XML, which points to the parent. If it's not a compound, if it's not a page, but it's the actual object itself, then it will either have nothing in this subdirectory, in the subdirectory.
Yeah, I noticed there was a bunch that didn't.
Or if it is a PDF compound object, then it will have like an index.pdf. And
Okay.
that will be the actual PDF that you imported to make that compound object.
Okay. Makes
Basically, if you
sense.
run into questions where you're not sure where a PDF is for a PDF compound object, let me
Check
know.
here.
Trying to clarify.
Check in here. It might be there. Okay. Now, just to reiterate, to make sure I'm clear about the description.all file,
Mhm.
you're saying that that could be the data instead of the exporting of the XML, but that because it's throwing live, it looks at each of the fields and cleans it up. Is that my understanding?
So the export as XML, what you're getting out should be the same thing that's in here with the possible exception of some system fields. As it's exporting it, it should be converting any non-XML conformant fields or values into something that XML can handle.
But that this is a backup to that data.
Yeah, it's just, if you guys wanted to try and parse through this, you could do that instead of doing an export. It would be entirely up to you guys. I think it would be a little trickier just because it can be, you can really get some weird stuff into the des.all file, especially when you're doing OCRing, for example, because then you get all sorts of weird garbage into it.
Well, yeah, from the searching, yeah. And we have some translations and some transcriptions in here, so it's very possible we have some.
But everything,
weird
all
stuff.
metadata in your collection should be in here, with the possible exception of the stuff that's in that CPD file, and that would just be compound object titles.
Okay. Wow, that's a lot of information, Peter. I am really happy to talk to you, and confirms the piece that I was missing was that record number idea. That's the piece that was throwing me, because I thought the name of the CPD file
Should be the
was the record number, and it is not. So yeah, that's
totally different things. And why they did it, they start off not in sync. I mean, I can see why they would get out of sync as time goes on, but
well, you saw it's almost 100 record numbers.
Yeah.
So
it just starts off confusing. It gets worse.
And worse, that collection that we were looking at was one of our first. It is the first one we used with ContentDM, and that was before. And at one time, if I remember right, why the numbers are so high is somebody messed up the records and they didn't link anymore. And so that's what got me started backing up the data, because I was worried that that might happen again. Somehow all of the links got lost and we had to kind of start over again.
Now,
it was really
one
bad.
thing that could happen with ContentDM was if you go in, and I don't recall too much about it, so take this with a grain of salt, but I think if you deleted a very large compound object, then it's possible that some or all of the pages may not be deleted. And then you're browsing the collection and you see like a broken item that you can't click on.
Yeah, we've had that.
Called into support and we have to run something on the back end, and all of a sudden you see all these pages floating around loose.
Yes.
And that was because essentially that CPD file gets lost, or it gets deleted properly, but the other records aren't deleted from the des.all file. And what they do at OCLC is they run a process which goes through that sup directory. And it basically looks at all of those XML files and says, okay, this says it's a parent of this one. This one says it's a parent of this one. And if it finds anything that says it's a parent of a record that no longer exists, it says, okay, you're no longer a page, you're a standalone item.
That makes sense. Okay. All right. Well, I think I've got everything. Thank you so much.
You are quite welcome.
I very much appreciate it. And I definitely think that I may have given them XMLs before, but so I'll have to redo what I had just finished doing. Damn it. But I appreciate your time. Thank you so much again. Wow. You still have it, Peter, even though you haven't worked for OCLC in ages. I just thank you so much for agreeing to talk with me. The only answer I've been getting from OCLC at the moment is we have an app. Have you seen this app? Maybe you know about this app.
Probably not. Not if they've come up with it recently.
They say you, Adam, let's find this one, Adam. Adam, there we are. We're saying we have this app. Let me. Am I sharing? I'm not sharing with you.
I'm not
Let me
sharing. No,
share
I'm not
it.
seeing.
Sorry. He's saying that we have this app. But I don't know how to work it. It's basically what he's saying. Here's the app. And then he said, well, here's some description files for the app. So here's the result of the app. And you see, he said, you can see that there's the parent and there's the children if you run it, but you have to change something each time because this is whatever that number is. And here's how you look at it with this app reference. So you can call this data.
Uh-huh.
And the parent child you can call as well. But that seemed like an awful lot of work.
Actually, it's simpler than you might think.
Okay.
So if you're trying to do this, I don't suppose you have access to a Linux system at the moment.
I do not, but I don't know what our vendor does.
So if I was going to do this, basically run this API function against all of my compound objects.
This looks like what we just looked like. This is the PDF CPD file.
Uh-huh.
Those are
More
the
or
three
less,
files. Yeah, this is.
It's exactly the same thing, basically.
Yeah. The only thing is I can't tell what server it's running from. I guess it's the demo server.
It is specifying in here the collection name, which is OCLC sample at the very end of it. OCLC sample /159/.
So that's the collection. That B.
Yeah, so that's the collection name, and then 159 is the ID number for that record.
And
so,
where's and is this the
honestly, I can see how this would be helpful for you, but you already have the CPD files.
Yeah.
So I mean,
they want to use the CPD files if possible.
Yeah.
But because I didn't know the number was different than the CPD name, that's what threw me and made me talk to you. So now that I know that, that's very helpful. Okay. All right. So I will send this recording to QI, the company folks, and if that's all right with you, and talk to them about
they are aware that it has been several years since I worked at OCLC. My information may well be completely out of date at this point.
Yeah, but it looks like it's right on. I don't think that's changed.
I'm good at faking it.
No. I'm sorry. You're good. So Peter, thank you. I think I got everything. I think it's in my head now, which it wasn't before. So you are wonderful. Why aren't you at OCLC still? But I'm sure there's other reasons, but yay. Thank you.
You are quite welcome.
Talk to you later then.
You have a great one. If you do have any other questions, let me know.
I will. Thanks, Peter.
Bye.